Imagine a woman so full of kindness, so devoted to serving others, that when she died, the entire community wept inconsolably. No one wanted to accept her departure. She wasn't rich or famous, but her faith and generosity touched so many lives that God decided to intervene supernaturally and use one of his greatest apostles to do it. This is a story of Tabitha, or Dorcas, a disciple of Yeshua who lived to serve the poor, comfort the brokenhearted, and care for the forgotten. But what was so special about her? Why did God choose to perform a miracle specifically in her life? Stay with us until the end, because this story isn't just moving, it still inspires thousands of people to this day. And before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any powerful stories from the scriptures. In the bustling port city of Joppa, where ships brought news from distant lands, lived a woman named Tabitha. Unlike many women of her time, who were confined to household duties, Tabitha was known throughout the city for her acts of love. She wasn't a political leader or a prophetess. She was simply a disciple of Jesus. But her faith wasn't made of words. It was visible in every action, in every stitch, in every gesture of care. With needle and thread, she made clothes for widows and the poor. But her help didn't stop there. She fed the hungry, welcomed the lonely, and offered hope to those who had lost everything. Her home was a refuge, a place where God's love was lived out in every detail. What's most impressive is that she didn't give from her leftovers. In times of scarcity, Tabitha gave boldly, trusting that God would always provide. Her faith was revealed through practical love. That's why she wasn't just admired. She changed lives. But then, suddenly, tragedy struck. Tabitha fell seriously ill, and all those who had been touched by her love could do nothing but watch helplessly as her condition worsened, until finally she passed away. The woman who had been a light to so many now lay lifeless. The city was overwhelmed with grief. Widows held the garments she had sewn, weeping. Friends painfully recalled the time she had welcomed them with open arms. But what no one knew at that moment was that God had not finished Tabitha's story. News of her death spread through Joppa like wildfire. It was hard to believe. How could someone so full of life be gone so suddenly? In the midst of despair, a spark of hope arose. The apostle Peter was in a nearby city. So 2 men rushed there with an urgent plea. Please come at once. Meanwhile, Tabitha's body had been prepared for burial, but she hadn't been buried yet. There was something different in the air. A silence filled with expectation. A faith still clinging to the impossible. When Peter arrived, he was met by tear-stained faces. The widows showed him the clothes Tabitha had made, as if to say, "Look how much she loved us." Peter felt the weight of grief, but he also knew the God he served. With gentleness, he asked everyone to leave the room. He needed a moment alone with God, just as Jesus had done when raising Jairus' daughter. Peter knelt beside Tabitha's still body and prayed. This wasn't a ritual, it was faith. Then he turned to her and declared with authority, "Tabitha, get up," and she opened her eyes. First, a blink. Then she sat up. Life had returned. God had broken the power of death. Peter reached out and helped her to her feet. Then he called everyone back in. When the widows and disciples entered and saw her standing there, alive, shouts of joy filled the place. Grief turned into celebration. Sorrow became testimony. And the news spread even faster. Tabitha is alive. God raised her. The entire city was shaken. Many, upon hearing what God had done, believed in the Lord. The miracle was more than a display of power. It was living proof that with God, not even death has the final word. But Tabitha didn't come back to life to remain hidden. She resumed her mission with even more fervor. Her hands, once stilled by death, now sewed with greater purpose. Her words now carried a powerful testimony. And everything she did pointed to Yeshua, the true author of the miracle. The impact of her resurrection echoed throughout the region. People who once doubted began to believe. Churches were strengthened. Widows were inspired. And many began to live out their faith more boldly, certain that they served a God who still moves and who still brings the dead to life. Tabitha became more than a name. She became a symbol of faith in action. Her life reminds us that God sees every act of kindness, even the smallest. And when we live to serve, He can do the impossible. Here's the final reflection. How many times do we think we're doing too little? That our gestures are too small to make a difference? But Tabitha shows us that every act moved by love, every plate of food offered, every word of comfort, every stitch of clothing, every visit to someone forgotten, all of it matters. All of it touches heaven. Her life is an invitation for us to look around. Who near us needs help? Who needs a word, a hug, an act of compassion? And more importantly, are we willing to serve even when no one sees? Even when no one applauds? Tabitha didn't seek recognition. She sought to reflect the love of God. And because of that, God Himself honored her in an extraordinary way. May we also live with that same heart, a heart that serves, that loves, that believes. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone. Someone who needs to remember that God still performs miracles, still honors the faithful, and still turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. And if you love biblical stories that uplift, inspire, and strengthen your faith, be sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell. We still have many stories to tell, and each one of them could be the answer someone's been waiting for. See you in the next video. And never forget, God sees your faithfulness. He knows your heart, and He is not done with the work He began in you.